Alex and Jack, welcome to Brand Growth Heroes. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you guys doing?
Very good. Thank you, Fiona. Very nice to see you. I hope you're very well.
I am. Great. I'm really well. It's a really sunny day here on the Isle of Man. Where are you guys today?
We're currently in central London in Soho.
Okay.
Also a lovely sunny day. It feels like spring is on the way, which is good news both for coming out of COVID, hopefully, but also it's a good time for selling soft drinks. So a double bonus on that front, especially for the salespeople around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, I would kill for one of your Dash cans right now. Of all of the samples and cans that have come into this house over the last 18 months, I have to say it has been one of the family's favourites. So thank you so much for that box you sent us a while back. So look, for those of our listeners who haven't come across Dash somewhere else in the world maybe, or for those of us who haven't yet come across you, describe to us, what is Dash? What products do you have? Where are you sold? Where can people buy you? And let's set the scene for the rest of the interview.
Sure. So Dash is a very simple product. We create it with what we say 3 simple ingredients, which is spring water, wonky fruit, and bubbles. And it's crafted in the UK.
Right.
Packaged in a can. Looks a bit like that. It's an infused sparkling water without any sugar or sweetener.
Okay.
And we create it by taking surplus or wonky fruit and veg from farmers that we pay a fair market price to, infuse it into the drinks. 5 different flavours, retailed in about 5,000 stores, mainly in the UK, but also internationally to 20 different markets.
Crikey.
Retailers include British Airways, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Boots, Costco. Online, our web shop is a good place to pick it up as well. So hopefully that's enough of a sales pitch.
Yeah, fabulous. And tell us about this wonky fruit then. Jack, you talk to us about that. I mean, that's a fabulous proposition and really quite motivating today. But particularly, I think, for any of us who don't want to be just drinking, sugary products for the sake of it and want to be making a difference with our each of our consumption habits. There's nothing else out there in the soft drinks markets that makes that play. How did you come up with that and why?
Yeah, so both Alex and I are from farming backgrounds. So I come from an arable farm in Shropshire.
Okay.
Where we grow all sorts, including potatoes. And it was actually when I was younger, I saw that there was a real issue with food waste in the UK. An example of this is that we have a contract with McCain's for our potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my brothers, at the end of the summer holidays, when my parents were getting a little bit bored of us, would have to spend our weeks potato grading. And we, on the potato grading, McCain's would only take the perfect potato to use to make their chips. And then all of the smaller ones or the misshapen ones or slightly green ones would go to animal feed. And I always thought that was a huge waste of resource, time and money. So when Alex and I were discussing Dash and speaking with our farmers, we found out that there was this lower grade of fruit that was going to waste.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the fruit that we use to infuse our drinks is this lower grade fruit that isn't accepted by supermarkets.
That's amazing. So where do you buy that, just out of interest? I mean, in terms of like procurement and supply chain, is there a market out there for wonky fruit, or a dude you phone up to say, who's the wonky fruit dealer?
Yeah, so when we actually went and spoke with individual farmers to begin with. So one of the first flavours we launched with was cucumbers. So we went to the Lee Valley, where most of the cucumbers in the UK are grown,
mm-hmm.
which is just outside of London. And we spoke with the farmers there, and we built up relationships with them directly. And cucumbers are graded. The ones that are overweight or grown in a funny way or have slight blemishes, we can then obviously use to infuse our drinks with. And then that goes to a boutique flavour house where they make the concentrate or extract that we put into into our drinks.
Okay, amazing. So was that from the very beginning, when you kind of conceived the idea of Dash, this was kind of central to your proposition?
Exactly. It was there from the very beginning, and it's something that we're extremely proud of. Obviously, your product needs to shine by itself, but this is a really important layer to the brand, and is something that is integral, basically.
So what kind of feedback did you get from buyers in retail, grocery retail at the beginning? Or, I mean, talk us through the phases of your growth. Has it been, through grocery or through D2C, or how has it worked?
Yeah, so to begin with, Alex and I made it our mission to make sure that Dash was in the best independents in London. So that might have been speciality stores, coffee shops,
okay,
gyms, delis, and then your Whole Foods, Planet Organics of the world.
Sure.
And we wanted to build the brand equity in those individual stores. That was how we started.
And did you get really positive feedback? Sorry, Alex, what were you going to say?
Yeah. You mentioned how did buyers react side at first. The buyers, when we came along with the product for the first time, and Dash is not sweet, it's an unsweet flavoured water, and there wasn't anything else like it in the UK market. Alongside that, we were infusing it with wonky fruit and veg. So when we first went to a lot of the retail buyers, we said, this is a new drink. We think it tastes delicious. It doesn't have any sweetener. And they tried it and they thought, okay, well, that's a bit weird. No one's going to drink it. It's not sweet. And then we said, by the way, it's infused with wonky fruit and veg. And they said, what the hell is that? Get out of the room. So at first, there were a lot of people that just didn't get the proposition whatsoever.
Just genuinely, did you have meetings where you were left cold at the beginning?
We had countless meetings.
Okay.
Nobody had a clue what we were trying to do. So
how did you feel?
Well, pretty disheartened, but you've got to, it's one of our values of Dash is to be tenacious.
Right.
You've got to keep on going and overcome these obstacles at the beginning, because the category had very good proof of concepts, especially in the US.
Mm-hmm.
$8.6 billion category over there in retail sales.
Wow.
And so very good proof of concept there. So it was only a matter of time until it would hit the UK with the macro trend of 71% of consumers being worried about sugar in soft drinks, 44% of consumers being concerned about sweetener in products as well.
Yeah.
But that was all going in our direction. It was a matter of time until the category hit and people would understand the wonky side as well.
Okay, so was there a tipping point then? Did it take like one buyer to say yes and to get one listing for everybody else to kind of go, okay, well, if they've got it, then I'm starting to see that there is something in this. What was that moment?
Yeah, so for us, we had a few we launched with Selfridges, so that's always a fantastic stockist to begin with in regards to the PR, and then we also launched a couple of weeks later with Planet Organic,
okay,
which Alex and I are just massive fans of, being sort of, food and beverage nuts. And we always spend our time in those stores looking at new products that we're launching and their time. And so we were, once you've got a few listings like Planet Organic, Dalesford, Whole Foods, you can start to, really build some momentum and
Sure.
go to places and, talk about those listings and how it's selling in those places. But we spent a lot of before we launched, we did a lot of sampling within parks. So that would be taking big vats of water, putting our fruit in there overnight, cooling it down, putting it in a carbonator, and then sampling that to people in parks in London.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was amazing feedback, and people were saying this is something really refreshing, natural, all of the things that Alex and I thought were we believed in the product, and they were reiterating those
So you really, from a marketing point of view, in terms of driving awareness and engagement, you really started from the ground up.
Yeah, exactly. Sampling in store was a big part of that. So Alex and I would be sampling every day, whether it was in Selfridges, Planet Organic, or
My
Whole
God.
Foods. Yeah, getting proper feedback.
So what year was this now when all of this was happening, the first few launches and the when you guys are still out sampling and stuff?
That was the summer of 2017.
Right. So not that long ago.
No, exactly. And we're about 3.5 years old now as a business.
So fast forward to now, what was the shape of the business in terms of retail versus D2C, particularly after the lockdown period, after the last year we've had? What does your business look like in terms of channel breakdown?
So in terms of the channel breakdown pre-COVID, we had 60% of our volume that was going through food service, impulse out of home, also with the on-trade and exports. So 60% of our volume was going through those channels. And obviously overnight that went into hibernation mode.
Wow.
So there were a few squeaky bum weeks where we were constantly doing reforecasts upon reforecasts. But I think, it's really credit to the team of being absolutely fantastic at being like chameleons to shift from concentrating previously selling into pubs, bars and restaurants or offices to then really concentrating in value-added parts of the business where we could generate sales or do other projects that we've been meaning to do for a long time, just haven't had the time.
Yeah.
So really concentrating online. So we've always been traditionally very strong as a direct-to-consumer business, and I think we'll come on to that a little bit in a sec, so I won't go into it now.
Sure.
D2C, and then the other side is we spent about a year and a half before COVID looking into and working our way to becoming a B Corp. It was also a great period where we were able to really knuckle down and put a lot of focus into getting that over the line because it just takes a long time.
Okay.
And other things like, for us, it's really important to have and to be very transparent with the way that we produce the products. So we worked and partnered with a business called Carbon Cloud. And Carbon Cloud are extremely good at measuring one's CO2 output per product. So with Dash, it has a very low carbon output, but we want to try and make sure we can get better and better with that. One of the key things was e-commerce. And, I find it myself when I have lots of e-commerce deliveries coming usually via white vans that are pretty diesel hungry. And so one thing that we changed from looking into our carbon output was making sure that all our e-commerce deliveries are carbon neutral.
Okay.
So therefore we partnered with a business called Trees for Cities and have offset the carbon emissions from our e-commerce business. So a few different projects that we did in order to make sure that we're able to grow and develop as a business, and also concentrate on the channels where we're still going to be able to get sales. And
talk to us about that, Jack, because you're highly involved, aren't you, in the D2C side of the business or the e-commerce side of the business even. Talk to us a little bit. How do you manage that? Do you have people working with you on a team? And, what are the main focuses for you guys?
Yeah. So as Alex says, that D2C has always been a big focus for us at Dash. We get a lot of, I think there's a couple of things that inspired that and why we believe that Dash could become a truly e-commerce business. From day one, we started selling lots of drinks through Amazon.
Okay.
So it was clear that consumers were looking to buy heavy products and drinks through Amazon, even though that you couldn't from the outset, that wasn't necessarily a trend, but we saw a lot of people purchasing our product on Amazon. The second is that we have, obviously, like lots of brands, we have other brands that we admire. And there's a couple of brands in the US that have successfully built D2C businesses in the sparkling water category.
Right.
So we knew that a large proportion of their sales mix was coming through D2C.
Okay.
And so we knew that there was a great opportunity. So when we started, we set it up to become a proper e-commerce business. So
yeah, it was a very conscious decision and core part of your strategy from day one.
Yeah, exactly. So when COVID hit a year ago, we were in a fantastic position to really capitalize on the sort of the macro trends. So whether it was the cheap Facebook advertising and our cost per acquisition came shooting down, we had a great performance marketing agency that were doing great stuff. We had good relationships with influencers. We had a website that was built for mobile and that 3-click checkout. So all of those, all the nuts and the bolts and the foundations of what were there, and then we were able to really capitalize as a business online over the last year.
Rich Goldsmith in our last interview talks about it'll be last but one by the time this interview comes out. But Rich talked about of Moji Drinks. He talks about the leaky bucket, fixing the leaky bucket of e-commerce before you actually go spending money on it. So it sounds like you had all of that sorted and you'd made all those learnings and fixed all those holes. And 3-click checkout, that's amazing. Certainly something that really bothers me when I'm buying online, having to go through all the jigs and the reels, as we say back home, before you actually can confirm to get your product. So do you talked about having a performance marketing agency. Do you still, or do you have that in-house, or how do you resource up a team? The reason I ask this is because I know a lot of the scaling brands out there are struggling or sitting themselves with their Amazon store or their own Shopify website. And they're thinking, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I can do this. But it's a struggle. It's hard work. And there's so much that they don't know.
Yeah.
In that Johari window. Or they know that they don't know, even in that quadrant as well. At what point did you start bringing people into your team who knew more than you do about e-commerce?
Yeah, it's a good question, and we're certainly no experts. We've, like everyone else, have seen a massive shift to online. We were in a relatively good position when it all happened, so that helped. In regards to the team, we still outsource quite a lot of various bits for the e-commerce channel. However, we have just brought in Holly from HelloFresh.
Wow.
Was head of performance marketing there to head up our e-commerce, and she started in November. And we really we've invested heavily in the e-commerce and really do see it as a channel that we can capitalize on going forward. And we're hopeful for this year that it will be 35% of total.
So quite a significant hire then, somebody to head up performance marketing who's had a really strong background with an e-commerce company. And yeah, that's what I was hoping you'd say, something like that, because just trying to share with the listeners out there who might be in a similar position, it's really important, isn't it, to recognize when the time is right. And then recruitment takes time, doesn't it? By the time you realize that you need somebody to the time you find the right person, you do all the interviews and they've got their notice period to work out. It can be 3, 6, 9 months. And sometimes that's too late. So yeah, good for you. So, okay. So you're hoping it will be, you said, 35% of all sales by the end of this year, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing.
In terms of value. Yeah. So and the way in which we're different, or the way in which we believe that it can become, we have a subscribe and save model. We're starting to build up a decent amount of subscribers. And that's basically offering people the opportunity to get a reduced price and get it delivered frequently. So whether it's bi-weekly, monthly, and that's been a huge success for us. And the signs are good that we can have this a subscription style product.
Okay.
It's unlike, I suppose, like an energy drink or a Diet Coke. You wouldn't necessarily buy it on subscription. Dash, for instance, you can have 4 or 5 a day because it doesn't have any sugar or sweetener.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can just stack up,
Yeah,
or
and
fridge.
you don't have to feel guilty about it. That's
No.
fabulous. So the special projects that you had time to work on over the last year, Alex, you mentioned to me in one of our prep calls that you were able to work on a fabulous NPD project. And I believe that's just gone live recently, hasn't it?
It's gone live recently, yes. It's a soda water, which is made for mixing.
Right.
And the way that this came around is that with our web shop customers, we're able to have a really close communication flow.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent out a survey, 2,000 people wrote back, and 47% of those said that they use Dash, our Dash water range, as a mixer.
Wow.
I personally have mixed with it before, but I don't regularly mix with it. And
were you surprised?
Very surprised, yeah. The quantity of people, very surprised. However, our previous sparkling water range, not perfect for mixing for a few reasons. So the first is that the can is too big. It's 330 ml. So by the time you pour a glass, then you've got a bit left over in the can. The second is that the flavours aren't made for mixing. They're very good. They're perfect on their own. But they're not perfect when they are blended with spirits.
They're not strong enough, are they? Because I did it and it just watered down my vodka.
Yeah, exactly. And the third thing is that the bubbles aren't strong enough. So when you pour it over ice, then the bubbles dissipate. So this new range, which is 3 flavours, which is the lime and garden mint, very good with vodka. There's the rhubarb and fiery ginger, which is superb with gin. And then there's also the bitter orange and grapefruit, which is very good with tequila. So these are three different SKUs, and they launched last week. And we've got some very good launch partners that teed up for them as well. So it's a completely new category for us, which is really exciting. Previously, if we bring out a new flavour for our sparkling water range, then it will cannibalize our existing flavours to an extent.
Okay.
So what we're excited about with this is giving a fresh perspective to the mixing category that previously has been filled with sugary and artificially filled mixers.
Yeah.
And this is pretty different.
I have to say I'm looking forward to trying it because whenever I buy mixers, what's the name of, and I should remember this, but I've just had a total mind blank with little sleep. The mixers, Fever Tree. I mean, Jesus, you can't forget the brand, Fever Tree brand. But, I do love drinking their products as a soft drink sometimes in the evening, say if I'm off the booze. But then I decided, right, well, I'll buy the sugar-free version. And because obviously you don't want to be just knocking back a whole load of sugar. And it's just full of sweetener. I was so disappointed. Because I just do not like the taste of aspartame at all, or any of them that I can't even pronounce the other one, K, whatever it is. So I'm really looking forward to trying yours because I do want a mixer that has that bite of the soda water, but doesn't have any sweetener. And I have a question for you in terms of bite. So you've got the bite of the soda water, and then you've got the bite of the extra bubbles or extra big bubbles. How do you engineer bubbles?
So, 2 things with the bite. The first is that as a soda water, it's got sodium bicarbonate,
right,
which is a salt, and all soda waters have it.
Yeah.
That means it marries very well with the spirit. The second thing is the bubbles, and that is a relatively simple, or it should be a simple process, albeit we had a bit of trouble with our first production run with it, where you simply you dial up the amount of bubbles and carbonation, CO2 that goes into.
Okay.
There is a limit, so there's a bit of backwards and forth with what one can and can't do.
We had a few popping cans on the first run.
Oh God.
We were trying to be right on that level. Where
okay.
We made a maximum.
Just too much.
And they all started popping.
Oh shit.
2,000 cans.
Where were they popping? In the warehouse or in the?
Yeah, exactly. On the production line.
Oh God, disaster. At least it's only water. It's not sticky, I'm sure, with the washdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. So that's out there now. Is it just online or in store or?
Online, on our website, in stores. So yeah, we'll have to get some to you, Fiona. I think
I'd love some. I really would. I'd love some. And my kids would love some of your original range as well, because they are massive fans. So I keep trying to push you on emails and calls to give me, you know, kind of run rates and sizes, and you're very coy, like all of today's fabulous insurgent brands, on giving numbers, you know, and I always joke with some of the more oldies in the food industry, because we just never were shy, you know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago even, about giving numbers, because they're all available on Kantar anyway. But you guys, that's fine. Whereabouts are you? Give us some kind of range in terms of market sales or share or something, you know, make our listeners dream in terms of where you've got to.
In terms of where we've got to this year, sell about 12 million cans. In terms of retail sales, it's a £10 million run rate.
Amazing.
In terms of the category, so our category grew 176% in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And within that category, Dash has a lead 37% share of the value sales.
Well, congratulations, guys. Congratulations. Pretty cool. What do your family think of all of this? What do both of your families think of all of this?
Still don't really believe me when I say we're going to sell 12 million cans this year. they'll get around to it, don't worry.
And what about you, Jack? I mean, what do your parents say?
There was a great article in the Grocer last week that says Highland Spring is challenging Dash.
Wow.
Thought that there was quite in our category. So things like that make it, you know, really hit home that, you know, it's such a great job that, you know, we've done, the team has done over the last couple of years. Yeah, no, my parents, they've been so supportive, obviously, from the very beginning. I remember when I first told my dad that I was going to create a soft drink. You know, you'd normally think that your parents would try and put you off, but you're sort of like, right, well, that sounds great. So they've just been unbelievable, and they're both just massive Dash drinkers.
Okay.
So my mum used to drink Diet Coke, and now I get a WhatsApp every month being like, "Where's my lemon Dash?" My dad used to drink a beer or two in the evening, and now has his blackcurrant Dash. So they're both completely obsessed with the product and have an understanding of, you know, why other people.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really lovely. So what about the future then, Alex? What's next for Dash?
A long-term plan. So our key objective is by 2025, we want to have infused 2,600 tonnes of surplus fruit and veg. So this year we will infuse about 300 tonnes. So we've got quite a long way to go. Obviously being quite ambitious.
But you're saving that. That would be normally food wastage, wouldn't it?
So all of the fruit and veg that we use is surplus, wonky, and we buy that directly from the farmers. In terms of where we're going with the category, so as I say, in 2017 the category started. Across Europe, it's a completely blank slate.
Wow.
So it's a very competitive category here in the UK. There are lots of great brands doing very good things. But when we look across the channel, it's a completely blank slate. So we see a lot of leg room to be able to go into the rest of Europe.
So what that means, though, I imagine, is you're at that point now where building your team is going to be really, really key, and a lot more on recruitment and managing people and leadership and values and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's you two are young guys. That's a huge undertaking, isn't it?
It is, but I think first and foremost, you mentioned making sure that the foundations are right. So we just gone through a big brand strategy piece, and we have got our brand Bible with our brand values that we live and die by every day. So the foundations have been set.
Yeah.
the team that we spoke about earlier have all been absolutely brilliant, especially over the last COVID 12 months, which has been pretty tricky. We haven't needed to put anyone on furlough.
Okay.
We've doubled the business in that time, and everyone has been an absolute superstar. So we're pretty confident with the team set up. And then going forward, we've got some fantastic investors who really back us and are able to steer the business. And they in the past have gone through similar journeys, and we use them as mentors.
Okay.
Along the way.
And just on that, because I know we're running out of time now, but in terms of any advice you'd give to companies who are scaling quickly and looking at investors, how important has it been for you that your investors understood the industry in which you're in? Has it been important or not?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think it's important to get a balance of investors that do know the industry and are able to add value by opening doors to retailers, to export distributors. Yes, it's good to get industry experts, but also getting some outside opinions too. On our board, we have a mix of people who are in the industry and not in the industry, and it's great having that blend, because you suddenly just get fresh ideas of what other industries are doing, and it's not a tunnel vision the whole time.
Okay. Well, that's brilliant advice. Brilliant advice. So listen, look, thank you both so much for coming on and sharing all of that today. Really excited to try your new, what is it? Soda water mixer? What do you call it?
Flavored soda water.
Flavored soda water. Flavored soda water. Brilliant. And yeah, I mean, very exciting. You've got an amazing, path ahead of you. Well done for getting to where you've got to so far. It's really inspiring. And thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thanks for having us on. Great
Thanks,
to chat.
It's been brilliant. Lovely to see you guys. Bye-bye.